took me 20 years to build my business, an identity, a sense of what it meant to be a man who could take care of his family. And slowly, but quietly, it started to shrink in 2020. It didn't happen all at once. That almost would have been easier to deal with. The decline was gradual, a little less revenue here. The market shifted there. Momentum that used to feel effortless required everything I had just to try to maintain what I had. With that shrinking came something I was not prepared for. Doubt, fear, and underneath both of them, I felt the thing I could barely admit to myself: shame. It was the quiet, suffocating shame of a man who is not sure if he could provide for the people he loves. I was the man who would wake up 3 a.m. running numbers in his head. I was the one who would smile at the dinner table while carrying something very heavy behind my eyes that never said it out loud. As a man, as a husband, as a father, I felt it all. It was the most fear I'd ever felt in my entire life. I stayed there for a long time. Staying in that state was not just painful, it was costing me the very thing I was desperately trying to rebuild. The emotional frequency I was living inside was scientifically measurable, incompatible with the creative capacity I needed to turn things around. I was trying to create my way out of a hole using the exact frequency that was keeping me in it. Today, I want to show you why this happens. I want to show you the exact moment everything changed for me. It wasn't a program and it wasn't a technique. It was one decision. 20 years is a long time to build something. I poured myself into my business in ways I did not fully see until it started to come apart. It was the way I'd introduce myself at dinner parties. It was the way I'd answer the question, what do you do? It was the way I measured my own worth as a man, as a provider, as someone with something to offer the world. When the business started shrinking, all of that started shrinking with it. The doubt came first. Is this a season or is this the end? Am I missing something? Should I be doing something different, something more, something I haven't thought of yet? Fear moved right in behind it. What if I can't turn this around? What if I can't pay the mortgage? What if I can't give my family what they need? What if I have already peaked and I just didn't know it at the time? Underneath it all, pressing up against everything like a weight I'd carried in my chest every single morning, was shame. I'd sit down to work and the ideas would not come. I'd try to think strategically and my mind would feel circular and foggy, like I was running in the same loop over and over and over without getting anywhere new. I'd reach for creativity and find only anxiety waiting there. I thought I was the problem. I thought I could just push harder, think smarter, force my way through the fog. Something would shift. The business shrinking was factual and measurable. There's no doubt about that. Markets go up and down. That's the nature of the world. My mistake was the decision to bring shame and guilt and fear into my consciousness and let it stay there. The shrinking revenue wasn't the problem. The problem was that I allowed myself to live in that state for far too long. I was not failing to create due to lack of ability. I was failing to create because my emotional state had literally closed off my access to my creative thought process. Dr. David Hawkins spent decades mapping human emotional states onto a measurable scale of vibrational frequency. At the bottom of that scale, we find shame at 20 hertz, guilt at 30, apathy at 50, fear at 100, anger at 150. These are what the scale calls contracted states. The word is not poetic, it's psychological. Your nervous system contracts when you're living inside shame or fear. Your threat response activates. Your brain shifts its resources away from the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for creativity, problem solving, and long-range vision. It redirects everything to survival. You cannot see a solution that would otherwise be obvious. You cannot recognize the opportunity standing right in front of you. You miss the signals. Your system has entered a mode where creative thinking is not the priority. getting through the day is. Your body does not know the difference between a physical threat and a shrinking revenue line. The biological response is almost identical. Now look at the upper half of the scale. Courage at 200, acceptance at 350, love at 500, joy at 540, peace at 600. These are expansive states. The nervous system opens, perception widens. The HeartMath Institute has documented that when the heart enters a coherent state of genuine love and appreciation, it generates an electromagnetic field several feet outside the body. This field actually entrains the brain into higher order functioning. You think more clearly, you see more, you access creative capacity that was completely unavailable to you moments before. This is not self-help language. This is documented, peer-reviewed, repeatable science. What state are you actually living in? I'm not asking about the state you perform for the world. I'm not asking about the state you wish you were in. I'm asking about the state you're actually, your dominant actual state running underneath your days. In that season, my honest answer was shame and fear. Every single day, those two states were quietly designing my outer world without my conscious permission. Here's what nobody told me about the law of attraction. It's not waiting for you to learn the right technique. It's not activated by vision boards or affirmations or a 5-minute morning routine. It's responding to your dominant emotional frequency right now, in this moment, in every moment before this one. If shame is your home frequency, you're not attracting the life you want. You're attracting the world shame creates. You're getting more contraction. You're getting more evidence that you're not enough. You're getting more circumstances that confirm the story already running in your nervous system. The law of attraction is always working. The question is only, what is it working with? There is a layer underneath that most people never see. The mainstream media understood this for decades. Every major news cycle is built on fear, threat, helplessness, urgency, and division. These are not accidents of journalism. A population held in a contracted emotional state is a population that stays dependent. It stays reactive. It stays consuming instead of creating. A person living at 100 hertz in chronic fear does not trust their own capacity to solve problems. They look outward for safety. They become a consumer of other people's narratives rather than the architect of their own reality. This is not what you were made for. Think about your own experience in the season where you were genuinely at peace, genuinely open, genuinely connected to something larger than your own fear. Did the path disappear? Or was it in the contracted season that everything went dark? The path does not disappear. Your capacity to perceive it does. Now I want to tell you the moment things began to change for me. It was not a program. It was not a breakthrough session or a retreat or a book I had read at the right time. It was one question. I had been living inside that question. Why is this happening to me? That is a victim question. The pain was real. The fear was the most legitimate fear I'd felt my entire life. However, that question places you at the bottom of the experience. It positions you as someone the world is doing something to. From that position, you cannot create. You can only react. Then something shifted. I changed one word. Why is this happening to me? Became, why is this happening for me? That is it. That's the entire pivot. One word, one shift in orientation. Victim to student, contracted to curious, closed to open. The moment I asked, why is this happening for me? My nervous system did something different. My perception opened. I stopped looking for someone or something to blame. I started looking for the invitation inside the experience. What is this shrinking business trying to show me about the identity I had built my worth on? What false version of myself is the season asking me to release? Who was I always meant to become? That the comfortable version of my life was never going to require me to be. I made a conscious decision to use the moment as an invitation. I stepped into the person I was always meant to be. That decision did not fix the business overnight. That is not how it works. It shifted my frequency, though. It made me move from fear and shame, contracted states where creation is biologically impossible, into curiosity, willingness, and eventually into something that felt like purpose. From that frequency, I could see again. The solutions that were invisible to me in the contracted state became visible. The signals I had been missing started to register. The creative capacity I had been desperately trying to force came back online. The state I was living in finally allowed it. I do not experience the present moment the same way I did in that season. I do not carry the future the same way. I feel like a different person. My circumstances did not change. I made a conscious decision to change my state from lack to empowerment, from why is this happening to me to why is this happening for me. That one shift changed everything. I want you to take an honest look at your life right now. Not the life you perform, not the story you're telling yourself about where you're headed. Look at the actual texture of your days. What questions are living inside of you? Is it, why is this happening to me? Or what's wrong with me? Or why can everyone else figure this out? Those are contracted questions. They are shame and fear questions. As long as those questions are running in the background of your life, they are determining the frequency you broadcast to the world and the reality you attract. You do not have to stay there. The dark night, the shrinking business, the identity that came apart, the provider fear you have never said out loud, none of it is evidence that you're broken. In every wisdom tradition that has ever touched this truth, and in the science that is now catching up to it, the descent always precedes the breakthrough. The question is whether you will let it be something that happens to you or something that happens for you. That one shift is the difference between contracted and expansive. It's the line between surviving and creating. It is the choice between the frequency that keeps attracting more of what you do not want and the frequency that finally calls in what you were made for. If something in this video landed for you, drop the word frequency in the comment section right now. Just one word. I'm building something for people who are ready to make the shift. We're moving from victim to conscious creator. We're walking from the dark night into the life waiting on the other side of it. When you comment the word frequency, I will reach out to you personally. This is a conversation between people who have felt this and people who are ready to move through it. You were not meant to stay small. Let's begin.